starting to work Russ back, man. He got some individual work. We'll continue to do the same. Again, it's me. I'm pursuing with extreme caution, man, because we're afforded that this time of year. And particularly because I'm just getting to know him. And so when you don't have a background or relationship with somebody, man, when you're in my position, it's just prudent when given an opportunity to kind of be a little bit cautious to make sure a small problem doesn't become a big one.
You are looking live at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, in Steelers Training Camp 2024, Sunday, July the 28th, day 5 on campus and day 4 of practice. And, yeah, it's a hot one out here at St. Vincent College. Fortunately, Max Starks and myself, I'm Mike Prisuta, in case you forgot from yesterday's show. We are under a tent. I wouldn't say it is cool up here, Max, but
no.
It's a lot more comfortable than it is down there.
We do not have direct sunlight happening on our heads right now. I think that's probably the safest thing to say. Yeah, right, just a touch below 90 right now, and, of course, with lovely humidity, I'm sure it feels a lot warmer. I'm sure it feels like 94, 95 down there on the field.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin usually doesn't complain when they get weather such as this because it, sweats you guys into shape, or those guys, I guess.
He sweats those guys, not me.
Not
I am
anymore.
completely out of that category
But
now.
I think they're finding a sweet spot. You get a lot of work in during the week at 10:30 in the morning when it's cooler.
Yeah.
More comfortable. And now this weekend it was hot yesterday. It's hot today, and then you go back to the early work on Tuesday.
Trying to create a balance, and I get why Coach Tomlin's doing this approach. Like during the week, you want to take advantage of the cooler weather because a lot more corrections are happening. And I think especially when it comes Tuesday, that'll be even more apparent to get the mental aspect of the game. Understand what everybody's doing from an aspect of corrections, fits, scheme, and all of the schematics things that go on. You want to have more time in the day to correct those things with a couple more meetings. They have a little walkthrough afterwards just to go through that. So you're not carrying it to the next day and you're trying to make those corrections the following morning. You can kind of turn the page fully from day one to, from one day to the next.
Kind of similar to what we do when we go over the show at the end of the day. And, this was good. This was bad. You said this. You shouldn't have said that.
A whole litany of all kinds of stuff. We're very in-depth here.
Yeah, we're not going to get to this till tomorrow morning when on Tuesday we'll
Why
get
are we going to correct on air? Why do you do that?
Let's throw it down to the playing surface here at St. Vincent now and join our colleague Missi Matthews, who's going to set the table for what we're about to receive.
Yeah, guys, so down it is as hot as you said it is. Had to wear the hat today, and they're not in pads like you said, but of course everybody on Russell Wilson watch. He's pretty much doing up to this point the same thing that we saw yesterday in the cleats, but has a baseball hat on, while the other quarterbacks are wearing their helmets. But getting that individual limited work, as Coach Tomlin talked about yesterday after practice, said he's not one of those guys that he knows as well as a TJ Watt or Cam Hayward, the veteran guys, so wants to be cautious. Of course, they have a day off tomorrow, which is good for everybody's body before the pads go on Tuesday. I have been trying to look for bucket hats. That's my only giveaway when they're not in pads. Isaac Seumalo had one on yesterday. He had a maintenance day. I think he's out here today, but TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, other guys that Coach Tomlin said were possible of having that. They're out here right now with the Steelers defense. TJ Watt's working with Nick Herbig, so we'll have to stay tuned as they get together and start going through more of the warm-up process as a team.
Missi, I wanted to kind of pick up where you left off with Justin Fields yesterday on the wrap-up show or revisit that, because when Max and I were doing this show yesterday, we mentioned, hey, the punitive penalty for false start and mental errors and that kind of thing, it might go from being yanked out of the drill to being yanked out of the drill and having to run a lap. And we saw Broderick Jones and Zach Frazier doing that yesterday. I know you talked with Justin about it on the wrap-up show yesterday. Seems kind of high schoolish, but seems to be well-received nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, Justin called it old-fashioned, old school, whatever you want to call it, kind of going back to the high school days, but he seemed to like the accountability, and it starts with offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, a new face to the organization, but there's also brand new faces on offense as well. Said yesterday in the offensive unit meeting, he said, guys, if we're going to have some pre-snap penalties, running the wrong motion, different things like that, things that you can control, if they're messy, we're going to start running laps. And as you said, we saw some guys, but Justin said it's not just the offensive linemen. It goes for everybody on that entire unit. So today's probably not a great day to have to run some laps, but definitely something we'll have to keep our eye on.
No, I think the accountability is perfect, Missy. And Missy, one of the other things I think that we kind of don't really talk about is that tight end room. That tight end room and their ability to catch passes and them to be open for a lot of these passes. Arthur Smith's really taken a special liking. Did Justin Fields mention anything just about the type of weapons that he's getting to throw to, especially with the ones?
Yeah, I mean, we asked him about, the growth experience of working with the George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth, and he said just to build chemistry with guys like that, the comfort for him in getting better in this offense as well. It's new to him. It's new to everybody, but those are guys we didn't see him work with a ton, obviously, during OTAs and minicamp because Russell Wilson has been at every practice. He's held practices outside of practice, brought guys, to California. He's really building that chemistry with the weapons, and Justin Fields is now getting a chance out here in Latrobe. As real as they're getting to football, of course, Tuesday is the big day when the pads go on, but I think for Justin, it's just so crucial. You talk to any of the coaches, they're loving being able to see him in this element, running with the ones, and for Justin, this is just invaluable.
Yeah, it's great for him. It's great for them. And as Pat Freiermuth reminded us a couple days ago, they used 3 quarterbacks last year, so sometimes you got to plan for the unanticipated, and then if it happens, it's maybe not as adverse a situation as it otherwise might have been. Missy, great stuff. Try to stay cool down there. I say try to because I don't think you will, but I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate it, guys. We'll check back in with you in a little bit.
That was Missi Matthews down on the playing field here at St. Vincent College. Max, what do you want to see today? Other than the Steelers get through this practice, take a day off, and then get the pads on Tuesday?
Yeah, health is always number one. I think that's every single practice. But what I really want to see from this team today, I want to see them minimize the mental mistakes. You listed it yesterday. They're running around the field. It's fun, but also it highlights that there are some mental errors, some things that you need to clean up. And one thing I've learned from my experience, when it gets hot outside, you definitely start to lose a little bit of your natural instincts. So I like to see guys stay tuned in and locked in. And like you said, the pre-snap things, the motions, the jumping off before the ball is snapped. I want to see those minimized, and I'd rather see effort penalties. Guys holding a little bit too much or guys going a little bit past the echo or the essence of the whistle. I don't mind those type of things, but I'd like to see minimizing of the mental errors or pre-snap errors.
Yeah, I might see a little of that on Tuesday when they start the hitting, but probably won't be.
That is Smokey Robinson.
Look at that. This is the place to be.
Yeah, I don't blame him. There's no tears of a clown here, though. We're just cruising. See, why are all the young folks that are here looking at me like I'm crazy? Like, those are some of Smokey Song's top songs.
Yeah, no, I got it.
You did.
Our camera crew doesn't know
our
what
camera
you're
crew had
talking
no
about.
clue what we were talking about.
They don't know who Smokey Robinson is.
Yeah, they're like, what?
Smokey Robinson, one of the all-time greats there. He is mugging it up
Motown
with Danny
legend.
Smith.
I mean, yeah. Any documentary you look at on Motown, he's there. Him and Barry Gordy are feel like the only two left when they interview about Motown.
This is clearly the place to be.
Well, he performed last night. He was in Pittsburgh last night.
Was he? Did you go?
No, of course I did not go. Now, my buddies went. They sent me pictures. So.
But I don't let you off campus once camp starts.
I mean, there's a certain responsibility. I must be here for all of the late hitting, breaking news. I must break down film. I have a very tough job.
So you couldn't get free tickets, is what
no,
you
I
told
could
me.
not, and nobody wanted to drive me. So I sat in my hotel room and saw the pictures of said concert.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hey, we have mentioned a couple of times now the pads are coming on Tuesday. Max, who/what are you most interested in seeing when we finally get there?
The center battle. The center battle is at the apex of what I want. I know a lot of people want to see the quarterback battle and see Russell Wilson come back and, of course, try and retake the helm, so to speak. But it really doesn't matter until we have a center really firmly entrenched in the starting lineup. And seeing Nate Herbig and Zach Frazier compete with pads on against the likes of Keanu Benton, Cam Hayward, DeMarvin Leal, and whoever, Braden Fehoko, whoever you want to throw at them, I want to see how they handle themselves. And for offensive line play, you can't do it until you can run full speed, and pads brings that type of atmosphere and that type of accountability. So I really need to see who's going to be the center. So I'm looking at that center battle, and it's Herbig and Frazier for me. That's the top thing.
I'm not going to get quite that specific yet in terms of what I'm looking forward to seeing. I'll also add what I'm looking forward to hearing. Backs on backers.
Yeah.
Team run, tackling and team run, live goal line. These are the drills that I look forward to every year. It really reminds you that football is back. I think it really sets a tone here at St. Vincent College and kind of takes the Steelers to another level in their preparation, this part of the team-building process, as Mike Tomlin would call it. But, every once in a while it shines a light on a guy that you might otherwise overlook. And just go back to Jalen Warren's rookie camp.
Yeah.
He was nobody from nowhere.
Yeah,
and
he was the cousin of Willie Parker. That was all you knew.
And they did backs on backers for the first time, and Mike Tomlin saw Warren. He didn't dominate, but he didn't shy away. He didn't back down. The cliche is he stuck his face in the fan.
Yes.
And Mike Tomlin started thinking, hey, I wonder what else this guy can do. He seems to compete pretty hard. He seems to want this pretty bad. And you look at Jalen Warren now. He's not. He is no longer nobody from nowhere.
No, I mean, those type of drills are what we call, those are accentuators, right? Those allow those individuals to really have a spotlight because, like you said, in team drills you can kind of lose focus of certain position groups, right? Because you're thinking about team run and it's a block. If somebody doesn't get their block, it doesn't look as good. That's a mano-a-mano drill. But when it does come to the team stuff, I mean, you do need somebody to snap the football, Mike, and that center position is pretty important in that as a part of the evaluation process as well.
Yeah, you're keyed up on it apparently. Locked in.
I am truly locked in. I'm not worried about the tackle competition. I know that's something that a lot of people want to focus on. The tackles will take care of itself. I've never been one to rush to put a guy in the starting lineup that has not had those NFL reps yet. I want to see, because like I said, it takes 5 years for a tackle to really hit their stride and really become prime version of themselves as an offensive lineman. So everyone's like, oh, well, when's Fautano going to overtake? When's Broderick Jones going to go to the left? Is Dan Moore going to even make – like, I don't want to hear about that because right now I know what I've seen from Broderick Jones, and he's done a heck of a job at right tackle. I've seen what Dan Moore has done over his 3 years so far, and it's been a tremendous job. And so for Troy, I expect him to be an integral part of this team for years to come, but I don't need to see that day one.
Did it get your attention at all? Omar Khan, the general manager, had said a while back, I'll paraphrase here, we drafted Broderick Jones to be a left tackle. That's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And then when Khan spoke to the media here at camp, he said, I don't know when that's going to happen, what year.
Yes.
Which I was interpreting as, okay, the door is open for it not to happen this year.
Yes. No, I think, and that's what it is, and that's what we saw when we showed the Broderick Jones tape earlier this week. That he was interviewed early on after practice, and he talked about, I'm not worried about when it's going to happen. I just need to be ready, and I need to get 1% better every day, whether that's at right tackle or whether that's at left tackle. I just need to be ready, and I think that's the mindset you have to have when you come in as a young offensive lineman into the NFL. Wherever I can get in, I can get in. I could have sat there, even from my own experience. I started my first game at a left guard. I then played right tackle for 3 years, and then I finished out the rest of my career at left tackle. And had I not been flexible about that, I might have missed an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. Because the first year I started at right tackle, that's what happened. But if I was sitting there saying I have to be a left tackle, you miss those blessings. So I love the mindset that not only what Broderick's bringing, but all those offensive linemen, when you talk to them, it's just about, hey, where can I be to be the most effective to help my team win? And I like that personality trait about this group, and that's what I think is really going to make this a group that's going to be on the rise and flourish this season because of that no-nonsense mentality about just wherever you put me, I'm going to play. Kind of like Nate Herbig. Like, we like Nate Herbig at center, but he's also a guy that can play interior 3. And it takes a very special type of guy that can play all 3 positions and do them in a pinch. So it's like, even if he does win or not win that job, he's still a very valuable piece because of his versatility, and he doesn't have an ego that comes along with it.
Oh, no question. But how long, or let me say, what must occur with Frazier before they start thinking about making that move. I mean, clearly you don't judge these linemen until the pads come on, but once they do, is it going to be him holding up against Benton? Is it going to be him making the calls correctly? What's he got to show the staff that, hey, I can do this right now?
Snaps, calls, physicality. I think that comes in a game time atmosphere. I think you start thinking about that probably after the Houston, not the Houston game, but Houston's week 1. After the Houston game is when you start to make that jump. Marquise Pouncey did not get ones reps until right before the 3rd preseason game we played against the Giants. And then when he got the job in New York and he went, I'll never forget this, one play, outside toss, he hit the nose, linebacker, and frontside safety in the same play. That was when it was like, oh, that guy gets the job. So I think it comes in game time atmosphere. Like you can do well out here in practice, and there's a degree where it's like, is it brother-in-law and is it not brother-in-law? Are they're not going full speed? But in a game, you know a guy's trying to make a job across from you.
When you say brother-in-law, you win this one, I'll win the next one.
Hey, let's take it easy.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we could go hard for 3 steps, but don't embarrass me. I won't embarrass you type of deal. And that's the negotiations that happen, you know, on the field at times, especially when you get deeper into camp. But the most neutralizing place is the playing field on a game day when something's on the line and jobs are on the line at that point in the preseason. So how he composes himself and how he reacts to that type of adversity, somebody that you haven't got a beat on because you practice against them every day, that's where I think the differentiation will be separated.
And do you think they have in mind, you mentioned Herbig's experience.
Yeah.
They have a pretty solid grasp of what his play would look like, and it's up to Frazier to go north of that?
They have a good idea because, like you said, because Nate's been in camp the last 2 camps, and, you know, Pat Myers knows him. They've gotten a feel for the sense of type of player he is, and he's been put into those pinches before, so he has tape. So you kind of know what you want to see from Nate, and that's going to be making the right call, setting the line, and making sure the snap's clean. If you do those things, that's the standard that Nate Herbig has set for himself. Now for Zach Frazier, you have to do all that and then do a little bit more. Your physicality has to stand point. Your finish on any given play has to matter a little bit more. When you're open as a center and pass pro, go find work. What are you going to do? Are you going to go earhole a guy?
Otherwise, it's a Belushi, right?
Yeah, or else it's a Belushi and you're fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, is that or do you tenderize the ribs? You know what I'm saying? Where you go and you give a guy a rib shot that's engaged with one of your guards. Like, those are the little things that can separate in a center competition.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, he's not new to this type of challenge. When he got to West Virginia, I think he didn't start one game.
Yeah.
The first one. And then after that, 46 in a row.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So he's used to being thrown into an environment in which he has no experience and proving that he's just fine adapting.
Yeah, and he was a 4-time state wrestling champ in high school, so he knows a bit about getting a little, as what we like to call, greasy when things get a little hairy. So that's something I don't worry about, but it's putting it on tape. That's the biggest thing. You have to be able to justify what's happening by your play on game film. And that's the one thing that he does not have right now that he's going to acquire throughout the course of this camp and preseason.
Yeah, I guess when we talk about battles, now you mentioned the center battle already. I'm not looking at these offensive linemen as maybe battling anything other than themselves, because I think when Frazier tells them he's ready, he's going to play.
Yeah.
I think when Troy Fautanu shows them he's ready to be your right tackle, that's when I think Broderick Jones is going to be your left tackle. I think maybe similar to Herbig, Dan Moore has established a standard. And, by the way, they've won a lot of games the last 3 years with Dan Moore playing tackle.
Yeah.
But I think when they decide Fautanu is ready to play right tackle, that's when Broderick Jones is going to play left tackle.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fautanu plays a little guard.
Really?
I mean, you watch his individual tape, the fluidity that he moves with his hips, the power that he brings. In an ideal world, what I would just love to see when pads come on, Fautanu and Broderick Jones on a double team of like a Cam Hayward. That would be a heck of a sight to see. And I think he has the power to pull. He has the flexibility. He has the leverage angles. I would love to just see it. Now, I don't know what the coaches are thinking. This is just from me as an offensive lineman looking at the big picture and saying, okay, how can I put the best 5 in a place? Right now, I would love to see that type of matchup and how they respond to that type of thing, because that's putting a lot of beef and a lot of explosiveness on one side of the ball. And if you're Arthur Smith and trying to run the football, I want to get my best run blockers out there. And I think Troy Fautano would be a guy that I would not be surprised, but I would love to see it. But I'm not going to rule that out, that there could be a possibility where you could see that when the pads come on.
Now, I have not seen him line up at guard yet. Have you, or you just?
I have not, but I watched the individual drills. Yeah. So the individual drills kind of isolate you, and it puts you in a position to where you have to make a quote unquote cutoff block in one situation. And I just watch how his feet moves. I just watch how he gets into the angle, and it looks guard-esque to me. One of the things I kind of wish –
it looks smooth. I don't know if it looks guard-esque or tackle-esque. I was watching him today, and he was just doing the one-on-one – what do you call that, slide step or the shuffle where you're retreating to –
the pass pro punch
to cut
drill,
off the angle block. And it almost looked like a guy in an electric football game. It was like zzz, zzz.
Yeah.
Like an efficient electric football game.
Yeah, very efficient. Yeah,
people probably don't know what electric football is. And there probably never has been an efficient electric football game. But if there was one, it looked effortless and fluid.
Yeah.
I guess is the point I'm laboring to make.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I'm always evaluating, how do I put the best five on the field? That's always my question. That's always what I'm looking at from an offensive lineman perspective. And I was just going through the drill in my head and just lining different guys up at different positions. And I was saying in my head on the initial, now they have to go put the pads on and show me, but I would go Broderick Jones, Fautanu, Nate Herbig, Isaac Siamalu, and Dan Moore, and I would really like how that shapes out. To see them in a run formation type of situation is something that piques my interest, so to speak. And then, of course, I still want to see Zach Frazier. You could interchange the two in the middle with Herbig and Frazier, but thinking about guard and tackle and form fits, man, it would be crazy to see, because Fautano is a very explosive and powerful dude, and you put him in a phone booth, you kind of steep that learning curve, and you get him to a higher level quicker.
Let's keep him a tackle just for a minute.
Yeah, let's do that.
That interview with Broderick Jones that you mentioned, he also said that he liked the way last year played out. I think he played the 5th game of the season because Dan Moore was hurt on the left side.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until week 8 or 9 that they threw him in the starting lineup. And he thought it was valuable to his development that he was able to work and, as he put it, hone in on his skills without the pressure of playing right away. He was able to watch. He was able to observe. He was able to learn. He thought it was an appropriate progression. I don't know. It wasn't microwave. I don't think it was the oven. What's in between?
I mean, what was it, air fryer?
There you go.
Yeah, air fryer. Still got to put a temperature gauge in there, But, yet it gets there a little bit quicker.
But he kind of liked the way it worked out. Do you see the potential for Fautano to follow a similar path?
I mean, I think you could. But like I said, how he responds in pads in this environment against that defense is what the question marks are, right? It's the TBD next to where Fautano fits in. And I think Tuesday's going to give us a really good preview, and by Friday we're going to have a really good handle on what can and can't be done, with a player. And I like that aspect of it, and I'm waiting for it. I'm glad this is the last day of a shell-less, just jersey practice.
Had enough OTAs, have you?
Yeah, enough of the OTAs and what we call the Underwears Olympics. I want to see pads on. I want to see these guys take the next step to staking their claim to becoming a Steeler.
In terms of the battles, I've stated my case that I think it's kind of individual. Frazier against himself, Fautano against himself to stake their readiness. You want to see how they do blocking and actually playing the position. But you've got another battle that has got your attention.
Nickel corner, because that's one that we've been trying to hammer down since last season, right? You sign a Cam Sutton, expecting to really stabilize that position, but of course things unfold the way they do. He will not be available the first 8 weeks of the season. So now we need to see, well, who's next, right? The Grayson Arnolds of the world, Beanie Bishop and company. I want to see how that plays out when we get to pads. Because right now, when you look at 7-on-7, when you look at the team passing drills, he pops. Like, he's there in coverage. He's never really out of place. He's a guy that comes highly decorated from college, from West Virginia, who I believe was a top 10 pass defensive of school, and they weren't that the year before he got there. Had about 4 interceptions, 50 tackles, and a ton of he led the nation in pass breakups. So that's one of the guys I'm really interested in, because as of right now, the game doesn't look too big. It doesn't look too fast for him. The way I watched him cover Scotty Miller 2 days ago on a shallow drag route, and the way he defended him was pretty cool. And then the way that he will take a guy down the seam and combat him step for step, stride for stride at the point, does not get easily shook on double moves. He's a guy that's really caught my attention. So I want to see how those guys continue to develop in that nickel slot role, because teams run a lot of 11 personnel, right? 3 wide receivers. So you've got to have that third corner type guy out there. And I'm really interested to see how that plays out once the pads are on and once you have to take a guy down in certain situations, or you get a little more physical at the point.
You know, from what I've heard about Beanie Bishop, Max, that's not going to be an issue. He knows what to do with those pads.
Yeah.
I've heard him described, one of the people that coached him in Minnesota said he was more physical than you'd think looking at him.
Yeah.
He also gets a lot of full marks for football IQ, and he's considered an instinctual player. I think they found something there. I really do.
Yeah.
Beanie Bishop getting a lot of looks with the number ones in the slot, and they've also worked number 25, Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott's been
in
in there
the
as well.
3 safeties nickel, the big nickel.
Yeah, the big nickel.
You know, maybe third, and they might run. You put Elliott there, and you bring DeMonte Casey in, and maybe third, and they're going to pass. You bring out Beanie Bishop and see what he can do. Don't want to compare him to Mike Hilton yet, because Mike Hilton did some pretty good things here, and Beanie's done nothing, but a similar type of game, similar type of approach, similar type of physical skill set.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's tough to mention that type of name in those situations. You know, the Will Gays of the world. If you're a Steeler fan and followed it that far back, what Will Gay did was truly remarkable. I mean, he was a guy that seemed to always be in the right place at the right time, and he played perfect. You know, I wouldn't even say Robin. Who's the third? He played Alfred, right? You know, Batman, Robin, and Alfred. Perfect Alfred, you know,
You got to do better than Alfred, don't you?
Listen, Alfred did everything. He fixed the Batmobile. He had all the communications. Like, Alfred was important.
I think Alfred, that's the bottom of the roster guy. You can find Alfred.
I mean, but who else did Batman depend on?
He was Batman. He
Batgirl?
really didn't need anybody.
Batgirl? I mean, I find it hard, but how invaluable he was. I felt Alfred was indispensable. There is no Batman without Alfred.
All right, I'll buy that.
And he was his father when he was an orphan, you know?
Getting back to Bishop for just a second, he spoke with some of us the other day, and I found it really interesting. If you're out here watching, yesterday they did some punt return.
Yeah.
Catching the ball.
Yeah.
You know, there was 3 or 4 guys catching the ball.
Simulations.
Cam Sutton was out there with one of the blocking pads, and he would run up and throw it at them as the ball was coming, or, you know, hey, look over here, you know. But a veteran of Cam Sutton's years, and he's an established NFL guy, right? And he's taking part in guys practicing to catch punts because he's trying to help the team, even though he's not going to play the first 8 games because he's been suspended for the first 8 games. Beanie Bishop was asked who he's leaning on, and he said, well, Minka Fitzpatrick, all the veterans, but Cam Sutton, he said they talk after every play. They work after practice on things together, and they text each other late at night. So, I mean, Cam Sutton is back, and he's all in terms of doing whatever he possibly can to help this team, even though he's not going to do much from week 1 through week 8. In fact, he's not going to do anything.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say. That's what the Steeler way is. When you come here, you understand what the laws are. And one of those laws is you help get the next man up ready to go. And you do that through your own sacrifice because at the end of the day, it's for the team. What's going to help us build towards a Super Bowl? That is the standard when we talk about playing for the Steelers. If you're not playing for a Super Bowl, you're in the wrong place. And I think that kind of epitomizes what you should expect from a veteran, especially one that's been here, gone elsewhere, and come back. I remember a couple of my other teammates in that time. Larry Foote left, came back. Brian McFadden left, came back. James Harrison left, came back. They understand that the grass is not always greener, but when you come here, it's something special. And when you can help that younger guy, you do it. You don't alienate yourself. You don't worry about me. It's all about the we here in Pittsburgh, and especially down there on that field. Every Super Bowl championship that's been won started here. It started in Latrobe, and it started with helping each of those teammates. If you're a rookie, if you're a second guy, if you're a new guy coming onto the team, all that matters. And I think it's just indicative of what's expected of the Spirit. And Cam Sutton is a Steeler, and that's why he is out on special teams throwing a dummy at guys that are just catching punts.
I mean, anybody can do that. He chose to do it.
He chose to do it because it means that much to him,
Yeah.
and it means that much to a lot of guys. So, as much as I know we're going through a situation with him, that's awesome to hear that. And that's a rookie leaning on a veteran and a veteran taking kind to it and embracing what it is to teach.
Another battle, at least I'm perceiving it as one, even though it's similar to the way I've viewed the offensive lineman. And by the way, I should have included Mason McCormick in terms of showing us readiness.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case.
I want to see where he is, or as we like to say in Pittsburgh, where he is at.
Yeah.
And the sentence with the preposition, even though you're not supposed to, because we do it all the time. How ready is Peyton Wilson? And if he's ready, does that mean they play a lot more nickel and a lot less dime to take advantage of his speed and readiness?
Yeah, I think that's another battle that kind of goes under the radar. But that goes with, I think, the nickel package in general, right? That goes with, do we have a nickel corner that can come in and play that slot position? And then now we shift that a little bit further inside. Do we have a second backer who can play in the nickel? Because we knew Landon Roberts did it because he had to because of injuries a year ago. But who's going to actually go in there and feel ready and play ready for that? And I think Peyton Wilson has the attributes, he has the pedigree, and he also has the tenacity and those physical traits to go out there and prove it. We just need to see it in a live simulation type of situation. And I think that's where I'm looking at that as kind of one of my under-the-radar things, because we look at Peyton Wilson, but you can't really get a true feel for him. Because just like offensive line, if you're not playing full speed, you're not butting a guy up with pads on, then it's kind of like I'm guessing, and you're kind of like, okay, I'll give him this one, I won't give him this one, instead of saying, no, he made that block, or he made that tackle, or he didn't. And it's a very cut and dry. It's not as gray as a lot of other positions when it comes to pads or no pads.
Well, all those attributes that you threw Peyton Wilson's way, he also might be a guy who just gets it and understands it. He's already, Peyton Wilson he has already made an impression on veteran safety Deshaun Elliott.
He might be the most mature rookie, I would say, when it comes to preparation. He's a freak athlete, he's really smart. He learns from his mistakes, and he doesn't repeat them twice. So I think down the line he can be a great player. I mean, obviously I've seen people heard people say Luke Kuechly or something like that, but I think Peyton's going to be Peyton, and he's going to be a great player in the NFL.
Where's that maturity show up?
Where?
Yeah.
Just the way he carries himself, the way he prepares when it comes to the film room, the way he comes out here and wants to learn, asking questions from not just us but also the coaches. And a lot of rookies just try to learn off of mistakes rather than actually going out of the way to really ask and learning and growing in that way. And he's doing a great job of that.
The most mature rookie.
Yeah. Deshaun Elliott.
Mature and rookie aren't always juxtaposed in that type of fashion.
No, it's rare you get guys that say that. I think, when I think of guys who are mature rookies, I think of David DeCastro, Marquise Pouncey, right? Those are the adjectives you would use to describe them early on in their careers, like guys who got it. And that's a good place to be, especially when you have a veteran that recognizes that. Because, let's face it, if you've been in this league long enough, you've seen a lot of rookies, if you're blessed and fortunate to, and to hear him see those attributes and also be able to talk about those attributes, I think is high praise, especially this early on in camp.
Last but not least, Max, who's flying under the radar that might start showing up? Beep, beep, beep.
Beep, beep. Well, Peyton Wilson was one of my guys. I think, you have to look at Beanie Bishop has been one, but we've talked about him, so he's not really under the radar.
No, he's been running with the ones a lot.
Yeah, he's been running with the ones a whole lot. I think another one that I am very intrigued to see as far as flying under the radar, Darnell Washington, because he's a guy that, we've known, we talked about, we anticipated. It never really came to fruition last year in the Canada system. But I feel like with Arthur Smith, as much as we talk about Pat Freiermuth will start to get some attention. So who's going to be that pressure relief valve that keeps things honest, especially in the box when you're talking about defending guys? I think Darnell Washington, like you said, in the 2 tight end sets or the 12 personnel sets, or even some 22 if you get Connor Hayward out there, Darnell Washington can be that guy. And he's gotten a couple of passes. He has not gotten as many as Pat Freiermuth.
No, they're throwing the ball to Freiermuth
a whole lot. But I noticed, like in walkthroughs in the morning, that there's passes and plays designed in that walkthrough where it goes to Darnell Washington.
You go to the walkthroughs because you normally don't get the concert tickets, so you're here anyway. You might as well.
Yeah, you know, a sound check, you know, nobody's around. I feel like I'm the only one in the stadium. They're singing to me. But, I mean, I feel like that because I'm sitting up in the press box where they're doing walkthroughs on the weekends.
Oh, you're doing your radio show.
Yeah, I'm doing my radio show, so I get to kind of key in on those type of things. And Darnell's gotten a lot of stuff that's been forced one way where Pat Fryermuth is at the front or the point of attack, and then he's right there as a pressure relief on the backside. And I'm like, that is a good place to be, especially if the quarterback feels comfortable looking back and throwing to you, to take that attention off and make teams that start to inch or edge towards one way, makes them stay back to balance and really gives the offense the power in those situations. So Darnell Washington's a guy I can't wait to see once pads come on, live team drills, especially short yardage and goal line like you were talking about, to see him influxed into and infused into the offensive scheme, because I think he's a guy that's a rare talent. He's humongous and he can run.
I'm going to give you two guys. One is Jack Coletto.
Ooh, okay.
Fullback.
Hammer.
Got here after the season began last year and joined the practice squad. He had initially gone from Oregon State, undrafted, and then signed with San Francisco. He was with the 49ers in training camp. He's a former quarterback, and he did a little quarterbacking in college and also a fullback. I see him out there a lot. I'm like, who's number 45? And I think they are more committed to two backs this year, as well as being more committed to multi-tight ends. And I don't know, there might be a spot. You don't know how this kickoff rule is going to work out, who's going to excel at covering kicks. Fullbacks are like linebackers, right? They ought to be able to run and tackle somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see what he does. And the other guy is Jacoby Windman, who undrafted out of Michigan State.
Of course he was.
Well, I bring him up because I saw every game he played for Michigan State.
I know.
I think he has pass rush skills. Now, his college career, it was both seasons he spent at Michigan State were shortened, one by injury and one because he got suspended for the infamous tunnel confrontation after a Michigan game. But this guy can beat you with quicks. He can beat you with bend. He can separate the football. He forces fumbles. He's played some defensive end. He's played some linebacker. I looked at him as a player when he was in college. That guy's a football player. And I know when he was out, and he only played 11 games in 2 years, I knew how much Michigan State missed him when he was out. So we'll see. Maybe the games come around, and maybe he gets 2 or 3 sacks. Maybe he creates a couple of forced fumbles. I know this much, Max. They're never not looking for guys that can bring pressure.
Oh, never. There's never enough guys who can be able to affect the quarterback. That's what you're always looking for. And for us as the Steelers, we're looking for 4 outside linebackers. So right now we have 3 known suspects, right, at that position. There's room for a 4th.
That you feel really good about.
That you feel really good. If I threw them out there, I don't worry about the situation. They can handle themselves. So there is room for a 4th. You know, we have Dave Perales who's come back as well. So there will be a position for who can be that 4th linebacker. And like you said, special teams comes into play. If you could show some type of dynamic ability to cover kicks in this new style or block for the return team, you can make yourself way more valuable because it's such an unknown place. So I think that's a good one. I'd love to see Windman, like you said.
And it's not anything he's done out here in the first 3 days, but I watched this kid. It was similar when they got Connor Hayward.
Yeah.
And I was talking about him. And, well, you're just talking about him because he's in Michigan State. No, I've seen every game he played. He can do this, this, and this. I'm telling you. Like,
exactly.
There's a little familiarity there. But,
no, I mean, and that's the thing about it, right? Especially at this point, like until we see pads, you know, you have to lean on your knowledge. And like you said, you've seen every game this kid's played. So you know what the skill set is, whereas a lot of the scouts, a lot of the players, they don't know. You know, unless you played in the same conference as him, you don't really know these guys.
All they had to do was ask.
They do. But that's why you're on air. You're telling them now. They can go. They're probably going to watch it tonight in their meetings.
That's right.
So no. So I think that's cool. Yeah. Outside linebackers, one where that's a little hidden competition because it's for the 4th position. It's not for a starting job or the key swing guy on the interior. Key swing guy who can come in and play in relief of either or. But it's something that's still very important, especially when you talk about getting deeper into the season.
That's going to do it for us today, but we are far from done here at Steelers.com. Don't forget the training camp wrap-up show, which will be streaming shortly after practice ends today. Missi Matthews will be in this chair. Craig Wolfley will be in that chair, and they'll have another Steelers player interview. Boy, was that great to hear Missi and Justin Fields kicking it around yesterday.
Yeah, that was
so
good.
It's always fun to talk to a guy right after because a lot of times it's a little more real than it otherwise might be. Off day on Monday, and then we'll be back at it on Tuesday morning. So until then, for Max Starks, I'm Mike Prisuta. This has been Training Camp Live presented by FedEx.